Sunset City, that's Victoria in St. Mark. We're getting just a little sprinkle this afternoon. I think it's just to keep the farmers happy, and so I am here this afternoon, and I have a very special guest with me, someone who is no stranger to the GEM FM platform. And his name is Cleophas Justin Pei, PhD. He's a consultant. He's located in Canada. His main areas of expertise are in the labor market needs assessment, migration, technical and vocational education, and labor market information, that's intelligence system. He's a labor market statistician by training, and I've carried out consultancies in over 24 different countries with extensive experience in conducting various types of research, especially in the fields of migration, education, labor, population planning, and perception. He is currently a director of Dunn, Pei and Barnett and Associates, one of the leading educational and labor market research firms in the region. As a company, they have conducted up until 2017, they conducted more than 115 different research projects in the region. While his most recent work is racism and the Black retail industry in Canada, which is what we'll be speaking about this evening mostly, he has done and has been associated with a number of other publications. Okay, and I guess we'll touch a little bit on some of them this afternoon. So he's a well-published gentleman, a number of matters he has published on statistics and the labor market, a study of evidence-based planning towards global competitiveness in the organization of the Eastern Caribbean states, the effect of migration on the labor market and small island states, understanding the labor market information system. He's been the guest speaker at Franklin Tong. And I mean, the list just goes on and on. Good afternoon, Dr. Pei, and welcome to the GEM FM platform once again.
Well, thank you, Brother Paul. I was listening to the person, and I wanted to know if that was really me. Okay, so,
yes, man, it's you. That's all the stuff you.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you for having me here today. Thank you to the listening public. Thank you to all of the nationals, Grenadian and Caribbean nationals in the diaspora, and I want to thank you to Mr. John Calise and everyone who gave me this platform to speak. And I will always recall that when we conducted the CARICOM human trafficking study, and we were trying to get even our national radio station in Grenada to hear what we had to say, because no one really called us back. Okay, you know what I'm saying. No one called us back, and I must say I listened to Mr. John Calise's show. I told him about the study that we did, and right away he had us on their program the same week. So I want to thank you for that, John.
Thank you.
To sort of give a little. Just some information about myself, as Brother Pablo would have said. As I said, I'm Justin Pei. I'm from the island of Grenada originally. I reside in Toronto, Canada. We have just to bring it from a political perspective, I'm from the Keith Mitchell constituency, Northwest. Okay?
Dr. Pierre, Dr. Pierre, you are not from Kit Mitchell's constituency. You are from the constituency of St. George Northwest.
Right.
Northwest.
And if I may say so, you are from the constituency of Mr. Lacrette. That's Laco's constituency.
Mr. Lacrette and Dr. Keisha. I'm a son of the soil. So we have a company. Our company name is, what as he said, Dunphy Barnett and Company Canada Limited, and we are a Black-owned management consultancy firm. We registered in Ontario, and our primary areas of expertise are in the field of human resource development, consulting, research, and training. And what makes us unique is that we draw on the expertise of many team members, directors, and associates. As a Black firm, as a Black research firm, as one of the larger Black research firms in Canada, we have established a lot of MOUs with various organizations, universities, statistics organization, that we conduct work together. And we are very heavily in the field of artificial intelligence, machine learning, things like labor market information system. We are database management. In fact, our firm, we believe that we have maybe one of the largest database on Black people that's in Canada, and maybe in about and we collect data. We specifically have a niche market, is that we collect data on Black people, in over 120 countries. So, for example, countries who may want to know about the population, the profession, what type of skills their population has, how many doctors or lawyers or engineers, they will refer to us, and we kind of collect that data. We also, as a result, we collect a lot of forced migration and human trafficking data information. And organizations like the various embassies, the U.S. State Department and other agencies who may need data on human trafficking, we also provide that type of data for them, especially in Venezuela and South America. So we have a team at present in Venezuela that provides a lot of data to the intelligence authorities. And later on, so what we have done here today, my main purpose for having this meeting is that our firm, Dunphy Barnett and Company, we were contracted last year to conduct a Black labor market needs assessment. It is the first Black labor market needs assessment that has ever been conducted in Canada, and especially on Black people. And obviously, today, later on in the program, we will discuss more about it.
Okay. Yes. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Pierre?
Yes. I said I will stop from here, so I want maybe some comments from you. Yes.
So with that being said, you said your company has completed the first labor market, in Canada's history. Okay. You said the focus of the survey was in the Ontario area.
Yes.
Was it, or was it for all of Canada?
Yes, it was specifically, it was a rapid labor market needs assessment, actually, as we speak now, both because of the interest of the study, both the local authorities, governments, they're all looking to do a national labor market needs assessment for the entire country. However, this labor market needs assessment was targeted to the Southern Ontario.
To our Ontario area.
Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, can you tell us now what is the real significance of doing that kind of labor market needs assessment? And what were some of the most salient findings coming out of that, seeing that the focus is the Black labor market?
Okay, then. Well, first of all, for the purpose of edification for the audience, I will just give you maybe what's a working definition of what is called since that our labor market needs assessment it falls under the mandate of the ILO and falls on the mandate of the World Bank. I will just give you a common definition of what is a labor market. So according to
I know you're very good at that, breaking it down so that the ordinary grassroots individual can understand what you're talking about.
Right, yes. So a labor market needs assessment is a systematic approach that is used to identify the skills and knowledge that a country or company requires to meet the current and future needs of the workforce. So a labor market, according to the World Bank, is if you want to grow your country, or if you want to develop your country, if you want to know what your country has or the future skills, a labor market needs assessment is the foundational survey for your country. So the labor market needs assessment, it helps to determine the high potential growth sectors which may provide opportunity for entrepreneurship and new business. The labor market needs assessment also identify opportunities where there is a present or anticipated demand for labor, including some sectors and specific businesses. It helps understand the mismatch and the gaps of job seekers and employers. So the labor market needs assessment is like a marriage between those who supply labor and the demand for labor. It helps understand the roles that the informal and cultural norms, such as attitudes towards gender, may play in the job market. It helps determine their supporting services or functions, such as access to market information that may enable individuals to find steady work. So the labor market is more or less the main tool that countries use to begin their road to development. So so in the World Bank's history, the World Bank has helped countries in the 70s or the years, or since 1944. The World Bank has helped almost over 135 countries to establish labor market needs assessment. And we know of Japan. We know after the war, we know of India. We know of Rwanda. All of these countries, Jamaica, all of these countries have conducted labor market needs assessment in their country. So that is basically what a labor market needs assessment is.
Okay, so with that being said, Dr. Pierre, what would have given rise? Why does your company, why does Dunn, what's the name of the company? Dunn Pierre and Associates.
Yes.
Why you? Typically, you would find these kinds of research is carried out by some college, some other type of entity. Why Dunn Pierre Barnett and Associates? Why do you think you are the one that's been singled out to carry such an assessment?
Okay, that's a very, very fair question. For example, in Canada there is something when you if you want a project to be done, a company will send out a terms of reference, a request for proposal. So persons who were interested, who believe that they can do that project, will submit a proposal, and our firm in addition to other firms, submitted their proposal. And obviously we won. And I believe that the reason why we won is because our firm, as you mentioned before, we are specialized. Our firm, we are an official supplier of goods and services to the United Nations. So our firm, so the PAHO, one of our clients, the IOM, the FAO, World Bank, all of these organizations, we supply those organizations with services. They are UNESCO also. So because we are a supplier to the of goods and services to these organizations, what our main distinctive value, our main expertise is in labor market needs assessment. So collectively, we have conducted over 150 consultancies as a firm. We have done this type of work in almost 40 countries, and not only by ourselves, but in association with other organizations. So we have a long track record of conducting these labor market needs assessment. One of the reasons why I think that we were selected is because when we go into a country or when we set out to do a labor market needs assessment, it is done under the guidelines of the World Bank. All of the templates, all of the technical aspect of conducting these studies are guided by the World Bank. So we have a very good relationship with them. Also, we use survey solutions and other very technical survey materials. But what makes us gives us a competitive edge is because of our database and our use of artificial intelligence. Because we as a firm, we have one of the largest database of Black people anywhere. So we could at least identify, let's say Black people in Canada, we can reach almost, we get data from about 2,900 intermediaries all over Canada. And we could reach, or as a firm, could reach almost 600,000 Black people. So I think that gave us that kind of edge over, let's say, universities or colleges who want to apply to do that study. So I think that puts us in a very salient position in order to give us the credibility of conducting these labor market needs assessment.
Dr. Pierre, why would first, let me ask, was that needs assessment commissioned, or let me put the question that way, who commissioned that assessment?
Okay, good.
Was it specific? Was it the Ontario authorities? Was it the federal government? Who commissioned it?
Right, good. So yeah, well,
and in addition to that, why would there be a need to do a specific Black labor needs assessment?
Right. Okay, good. So there's an organization called the African Canadian Business Network, so the ACBN. So they commissioned that study. The proposal was sent out in December of 2021, and so they commissioned that study, and we got their proposal, and the reason why this study was commissioned is because in the history of Canada, for example, a labor market needs assessment on Black people has never been conducted. Okay, never. So we do not have any data on Black people. In Canada, when you do your taxes every year, Statistics Canada has a long form that you collect basic information. Statistics Canada conducts a labor force surveys, but a labor force survey is not a labor market needs assessment. Filling out documents on the long form is not a labor market needs assessment. A labor market needs assessment is a specific undertaking carried out by the World Bank. is a detailed investigation into the needs of the people. So for example, if I'm in Canada, let's say I'm in Canada, and you ask me, Dr. Pierre, I want to take my family to which area in Canada that has the best education for young children. You don't know. Which area in Canada with people with the best, highest level of income? You don't know. How many persons make over $100,000 in Black people? What investments they are in? What industries they are in? You don't know. So we don't know any we do not almost any information about Black people in Canada. Even though we have that, even though labor market needs assessment they have been conducted routinely on other population, on other areas, on other sectors in the country, a labor market needs assessment has never been done in Canada, and that is one of the challenges we see. One of the reasons for I would say a crime or for underemployment and unemployment within the Black community, because we do not have data. We do not have intelligence on the Black population. So for example, we may be training in areas, for example, where we train our people and they would not get jobs because what they're training in is not required in the labor force. So as a result, from the data that we have the highest percentage of underemployed people in Canada are Black people. We have education, we have the masters, we have the PhD, but yet nobody would employ us. We do not know where the jobs are, and that is the purpose of a labor market needs assessment. So a labor market needs assessment finds out, will investigate those type of issues within the labor market. Okay, so and that is why it is so important. However, a labor market needs assessment has never been done. There are no universities that has ever done it. Okay, and we both when the ACBN contracted us to do their labor market needs assessment, we reached out to them and you said, hey, if you have to do a labor market needs assessment, a labor market it is too expensive, because labor market needs assessment are normally conducted by governments because of the details. We said, hey, what we could help you instead of doing a labor market needs assessment, why don't you conduct a rapid labor market needs assessment instead of a full labor market needs assessment? Because you as an organization, you do not have the resources that it will take to conduct such a study. And as a result, we were able to guide them into the establishment of the first labor market needs assessment in Canada's history.
Okay, so now that you've completed this study, you've just mentioned some of the stuff, some of the outcomes that you found. What would you say were the most significant findings from that assessment, from that process?
Okay, then. Well, first of all, there are a lot of challenges, okay, within the Black community. So there are 1.5 million people in Canada. The population is we are about 5% of the total population of the Canadian population, 5.5%. Even though we have 1.5 million people that is in the population, our labor force is only 3.5%. It's close to only persons over the area over the age persons between the ages of 15 and 65. Those are people who are in the labor force. Is about 1.5 million people person, which represents about 3% of the total workforce. Some of the challenges we have is that we as a people, we cannot employ our own, meaning that we have one of the lowest business to population ratio. I mean, if you take our population and count how many businesses we have one of the lowest ratios. So we have 1.5, 27,640 Black businesses. So our business to population ratio is about 1.8. So with that, we cannot employ our own. When our Black students leave school, they cannot get jobs. So that, first of all, contributed to one of the high levels of unemployment. We as a population, we have the youngest population. The average age of a typical Canadian is 41.2 years. The average age of a black person is 29.6. So we are the youngest population. We are growing quickly. However, we are not employed, because what we found out in the survey, the white population, most white people or most non-Black people, we also found out that they do not do business with Black people. So even though, 86% of our population or our business people have less than 5 employees. Okay, so that's one of some of the striking issue. We also found out within the survey that in many instances, when we have done tracer studies, a white person who has a high school education, for example, within 5 years after leaving school, that person will typically make more money, a high salary, than a Black person with the masters. And that's to show the disparity in employment in Canada. Only 7.3% of Black people make over $100,000 per year, compared with almost 60% of white people. So there are some huge challenges. We also have, if you're a Black woman in Canada, you on average you will make less money, less income than almost a white person would tend to double your salary. You make twice the amount you make, even though you all are working in the same institutions. So there are lots of disparities in employment in Canada. So these are some of the first things we saw. We also found out that there is what is called, when we apply some of the labor market theories, we found out that there is what is called an issue of misclassification. So if you go on Statistics Canada website, they ask you, what is a small business? A small business is between 1 and 99 employees. That's for typical Canadian businesses. But within the Black landscape, a small business is between, most of our business are under 5 employees. So our classification of businesses has to change. So in terms of labor market terms, when someone is between 1 and 5, we do not necessarily call it a small business. We call it a nano business. And nano business are most likely to be self-financed. And that is one of the major challenges also, because you may have a small business, you may go to the bank for financing, and the bank would not give you money. So we know in Canada that some of the challenges of systemic racism is that if most banks do not lend money to Black people. So if you're a Black person for a business, the most likely that the bank would not lend you money. So the situation has gotten so bad over the past couple of years that the government had to come in with special resources just to fund Black people. And in 2021, the government gave, I think, around $400 million for Black people. So that is some of the challenges. Just on the onset, we saw in conducting this study. But one of the interesting things we should also look at is that even though there are Black businesses in Canada, the Black businesses in Canada have not developed to the standard as a white business. There are fundamental challenges and fundamental differences between a Black business in Canada and a white business. So, for example, okay, Black workers are obviously disproportionately lower paid. Most black businesses, what we do is that we mix our finances, meaning that we do not operate or follow proper business procedures. So, for example, we do not separate our personal finances from our business finances. Black businesses, Black people, we have on average a lower credit score than the general population. Or an average Black business, the average credit score is about 590. We also lack proper record keeping. Okay, and most times we are non-compliant in terms of filing taxes, documentation, supplying our annual returns, financial statement to the government. We also found out that Black businesses also use more cash than other businesses. Black businesses also conduct less research. Black businesses also, they have very few white customers. And in order for you to grow your business in Canada, you must have white customers because they are the majority of the population. And from our research, we found out that over 60% of Black businesses from the research, and we sampled 1,583 businesses. From the sample, we found out that over 60%, 2/3, had no white customers. Okay, we also found out that most Black businesses are not linked to major industries. So, for example, if you are a Black business, so let's say you are a tool and die maker, your business might be linked to the automotive industry. With Black businesses, it does not operate like that. Okay, we also declare lower salaries. We also have less qualified staff because of our limited scope and limited access to finance. We pay our employees less than the general population, and as a result, our employees, our Black employees, seldom want to work for us. And these are some of the initial challenges and findings we found in the survey. And later on, I will tell you some more.
Dr. Pierre, you mentioned about disparities and about systemic racism. How endemic did you find these disparities to be, and the whole issue of systemic racism to be as a consequence of people being Black?
Okay, good. So, for example, sometimes I tell my friends that so racism in Canada is worse than racism in the United States. So in the United States, someone will tell you, hey, they don't like you, and you have to keep away from them. But in Canada, it's not like that. Okay, the racism is systematic, is entrenched. So, for example, we have 5.5% of the population. In the United States, we're 16%. So there are more Black people in the United States than there are Black people in Canada. For example, just look at lending. So if you're a Black person, want to engage in economic activities, you want to get a loan, you want to open a business, it is very difficult for you. There are about three three institutions, the Business Development Bank and maybe FACE and a few others that are specifically designed to lend Black people money. So in the United States, there are over 44 organizations that lend money. In the United States, there are Black leaders. In Canada, we don't have any Black leaders. So systematic racism is more prevalent in the United States and in Canada than in the United States. And as a result, we hope that these studies, these research that we conduct will shine a light. And we have to thank the government, because the government is making progress. And you see that in recent times, the government has been making systematic progress to solve that problem. And we have to thank them for that, both the federal and the provincial government. So we have to thank them. But the road, we still have a lot of work to do. And that is why we need equity in higher ed. We also, so for example, last year in 2021, the government, so there is no diversity in supplies. So for example, last year, the government of Canada had contracts, $22 billion worth of contracts. And almost maybe 99% of these contracts went to non-Black people. So we are also asking that when the government has contract, they should also include diversity in the selection process. Because
go ahead.
Yes, because if they do not do that, it will further marginalize Black people, because most Black people do conduct business with other Black people, and because white people generally do not do business with Black people, we are being shut out of the economic system. And hopefully their research in the report explains that, and there's some process.
Considering the fact that Canada would have quote unquote Black people coming from different parts of the world, from the Caribbean, from Africa, and so, was there any particular focus in your study on those demographics?
Yes. So for example, when you look at the 1.5 million people in Canada, about 19% of those are from Jamaica, or from Haiti, Nigeria, other parts of the world. But what we see is that the immigrants so about 50% of the Black people who live in Canada were not born in Canada. Okay, so for example, myself, I came into Canada in the 80s, so I've been living here. But most of us, so the people who were not born in Canada, for example, they tend to do better than the persons who were born in Canada. Because I think that maybe from who we are, so in our country, for example, in Grenada, we don't have discrimination. So I mean, in Grenada, I will, see, sometimes you hear these stories like, in the States, or this lady she was the first judge, or the first teacher, or the first whatever. In the Caribbean, we don't have that. Everybody is Black like us. The politicians are Black. The judges are Black, the accountants are Black, the mayor is Black. So we don't have this inferiority complex that most Canadians who are born in Canada has. So as a result, we're more quote unquote ambitious, I would say, than the regular Canadians or children who were born here. And I think that is one of the main reasons why people who are born outside of Canada tend to do better. So for example, Michael Lee-Chin, he was not born in Canada. He's one of the richest Black men in Canada. And there are others who have done very well that were not born in Canada. Justin Miller and all these guys in nanowave technology all of these persons were not born.
Just to nail you down on this one, what do you think could be responsible for that disparity in the mindsets of someone born, a Black person born in Canada, as against an immigrant? What do you think could be responsible for that?
I think it's our background. I believe that where we came, like from our socialization, when we were, because your analytical ability, starts when you around the age of 12, and if you came to Canada as an area of reasoning, as an age of reasoning, we already had that our parents gave us this already laid down how to succeed, to keep your nose clean, put your head down, work hard, etc., etc., etc. And we found that maybe in North America or in Canada, there's not an emphasis. There's not a lot of emphasis on being competitive and being all that you can be. We find that persons who were not born here tend to do better. So I believe that is the main reason, because we were born in the Caribbean, and in the Caribbean, we are, as a people, we are very, very, very conscious as a people, as a Jamaican. I mean, one of the most proud nation in the world are Jamaicans, Italians. I mean, we also Grenadians. We are very proud. We know who we are, etc. So we have that kind of fighting spirit in us, and as a result, we tend to take that into the workplace, and we will, and as a result, we become more successful.
But Dr. Pay, with that being said, considering that immigrant population have come with that kind of mindset and with that kind of value system, and they are the ones who would have given birth to these children, would you say that this is an indictment on that immigrant population, that they haven't been able to transfer that value system onto their children? And what do you think would be responsible for that disconnect?
Well, I think that the challenge is that is the whole issue of systemic racism. Sometimes you, as an immigrant, you come here. So, for example, in some of the research that we have done, there's a university. Let's say, for example, you come in, you may have a university degree from, let's say, from. So many of the immigrants, the education, they did not have the education in Canada, and as a result, there are systemic and racial barriers against you. So, for example, if you come as an immigrant and you have education that was not, you did not go to school in Canada, they will say that you do not have Canadian experience. Okay, so so even though it's a racial construct, it has been it served as a barrier for gainful employment with immigrants. For example, the University of the West Indies, the University of the West Indies in 2001, they conducted a study. I think it's about 45,000 universities all over the world, 450,000 universities, sorry, all over the world. And they found out that the University of the West Indies is in the top 99.9% of all universities in the world. So imagine that the University of the West Indies is better than 90% of all universities in Canada. But yet, if someone comes with a degree from the University of the West Indies, they'll still send them back and say, hey, you do not have Canadian experience. That's some of the samples of systemic racism.
Yeah, what I'm trying to get from you is that given this high value that you say is applicable to our university and training, given the high value that you say our immigrant population land within Canada, why isn't the descendants then? What has happened to create that disconnect in terms of that value being transferred to the offsprings.
Right. So good. So let me continue. So when you may be a for example you may be a judge in your country, a doctor, a lawyer in your country. When you migrate with your family. So in order for you to be a doctor in Canada, they want you to return to school 5-6 years. You might be in your 30s, 40s. You don't want to do that anymore. You spent 8 years, 12 years at university. You don't want to do that. So you come to Canada and you take a other job. You may get into a business, for example, and as a result, and because Black people on an average get about 50% less than a white person, your employer would not pay you the same as he would pay a normal white person. So the system discriminates against you. So sometimes you become frustrated. You may start a business, but because you never had business experience, your business fail, and and as a result, it reduce your income. You have challenges. You may not have the resources to take care of your children. You may be battle fatigue, and most people give up. And as a result, the second generation tend to do worse than the first generation, and there are documented evidence of that.
Okay. Did you find what level or how much are we involved in the whole banking and financial institution? Are there any Black banking and financial institutions of note?
Well, I mean, there are no, as you mentioned before, there's no Black bank in Canada. Okay, and because we are kept out from the financial sector, we are kept out from most of the major in industrial sectors. There are no Black universities. Okay, so we need all these things. We need a Black bank. We also need a Black university, because we need someone to teach our children who we are. Because what we find out is that the most of the universities, because for example, because a labor market needs assessment has never been conducted on Black people in Canada. Black people have different career needs than the general population. See, so for example, the majority of Black people live in the metropolitan areas, but there are lots of jobs outside of the metropolitan areas. If you go to, let's say, in the Atlantic prairies, if you go to the Yukon and Saskatchewan, there are a lot of opportunities. But because we are in the metropolitan areas, we're competing with everyone else, and as a result, if most persons would not give us jobs, even though we qualify or have the similar qualification, they would not give us jobs. So as a result, we have, even though we have higher unemployment than the general population, even though our population is smaller, we have a higher population, 14%.
You said earlier on that most of those Black businesses do not have quite quote unquote clients. What have you found to be the level of support among Black people for their own business operators?
Well, yeah, and that's one of the challenges. We find that, so for example, in July last year, we conducted a study, and we asked about I think it's 1498 or 1478, one of them persons. How many, can you name 3 of your top 3 Black suppliers? And close to 80% of persons could not name 2 Black suppliers. So even Black people do not have Black suppliers. And as a result, there are issues with, even though we are not there yet. Even though we are getting better, but there are issues with customer service, punctuality, business etiquette, etc. So we as a people, we have to learn, we have to get better, we have to get business coaching, we have to learn how to conduct business, how to do research, how to do customer service, how to have standards, and all of these things. As business people, we have to learn how to do it, because even though as one of the as Miss Tiffany Callender has said, even we are a developing people living in a developed country. So even though we live in Canada, that's a developed country, but we are still developing in terms of our business acumen, our business relationship, and we have to have better business practices.
What would you say are some of the specific interventions that would be required in order to really begin to see the kind of development that is needed?
Okay. Well, first of all, we need to have a black labor market needs assessment. So a black labor market needs assessment is one of the most important a need for the Black community. Without it is more important than funding. So we need to have a black labor market needs assessment. Okay. In addition, we must establish a database of Black people, because we do not know who we are. We as a firm, we track Black people, Black businesses. We know there are about we track about 2,100 professions, but there are much more. We do not know where they are. We need to communicate. There's also, we need to have what is called a Black leadership. There's no Black leaders in Canada. We do not know who they are. And if anybody who's listening, if they know a Black leader, we should identify them. We also need right away we need to put more emphasis on the government to collect race-based data, because we do not collect race-based data, and that is also needed. So we need to collect race-based data. We also need to collect financial information, because there's not because as Black people, we have one of the lowest investment to population ratio. So we don't buy stocks, we don't buy savings, we don't have GIC, we do not buy anything, any financial instruments, and as a result, it affects us. Okay, so we also need to have proper intercourse between the Black people. We need to communicate. Maybe they should have a Black think tank. This is not done. We also need, as a Black agency, we also need to conduct more conduct business with the white population, or encourage the white population to conduct business with us. I mean, apart from the food and the jerk chicken and all these things like that white people buy from us, but this would not take us to the promised land. We need investment. We need to have Black industrial companies, and I think that is lacking in Canada. Also, Black people need to adjust their loans and grant eligibility criteria. You cannot judge us based on the same criteria that you judge the normal population. So these so far are some of the salient points that we can work on right away.
Dr. Pierce, seeing as Black people from all over have been part of the Canadian community for such a long time, what do you think would be responsible for the government, the authorities, not seeing the need to have gotten into, collecting data and that kind of stuff in addressing that issue?
Right. Well, a very good question. So, for example, when we're doing, as I said, we collect data. So we looked at when we were doing an analysis. We want to know, for example, reports. So we looked at from 1969 to 2021. So from 1969 to 2021, there were 164 reports about Black people in Canada. 164 reports. And over 90% of those reports, Pablo, was about anti-racism. So, but anti-racism cannot take us to the promised land. What we want to do as a people, we want to be involved in the business activities of our country. We want to involve in the industrial mindset. I don't mind you hate me, as in America. Racism is America. It's not in everywhere. But you have lots of rich Black people, because Black people are involved a lot of them are in the industrial development of the country. So the focus on Black Canada is anti-racism. Everything is about anti-racism, but anti-racism is not the solution. The solution is giving us the opportunities to develop as a people. Because it's not that difficult. So, for example, in one of our presentation, we said that our goal by 2027 is to have 50,000 Black people, 50,000 Black businesses. Today we have 27,640. By 2027, we want to have 50,000. If we get more Black businesses, each of these Black businesses would employ 5 persons. Each of these Black businesses would have an average income. They'll have an average income of 115,000. Okay, you multiply by 50,000, you will get close to $5.7 billion generated in the Black community. This is more than enough. So it's not that difficult, and we will have almost zero unemployment, because we will be able to employ our own. Because only from our latest data analysis is we have 1.1 million persons that are within the age of between 15 and 65 that are eligible for working. We only have 798,000 people that are in the workforce. So we can do it. It's not that difficult, but it's just that somebody has to have the foresight and the leadership to take it on, and as a result, we must collect the data, and which we do not have as yet, because as a people we do not collect data.
You've mentioned Black leadership quite a number of times so far. And given the situation that Black people face in Canada, and those reports that you say would have been forthcoming with regards race relationship and so on, what do you think would have caused or would have negated Black people from pulling together and to be able to collectively address those situations and those disparities that you've been speaking about?
Okay, well, that's a $1 million question. I may not know all the answers, as I said, look at the science, but I think that so for example, there are 1.5 million people in the country. Okay, persons between the ages of 15 and 64. There are 1.1 million. We have a population rate of 14%. We have also a dependency ratio of about 60%. What has to be done? A lot of our Black organizations are focused on the non-profit side, the non-profit aspect, receiving funding from the government. So in 2021, the government gave about 44 Black organizations about $100 million. And today, most of that money is finished. Training was done. We don't know what training was done, but it was. We believe that because the labor market needs assessment was not conducted, the training was not done in the proper way, because we still have high unemployment within the Black community. So we need to and that's why a labor market needs assessment is so important. And it's not my word, it's the World Bank that said that. The World Bank said in order for you to develop a country, you should conduct a labor market needs assessment. And because a labor market needs assessment has never been done in Canada, no wonder why we're having so much of these challenges. Because the same problems we're having today, Pablo, is the same problem that we had 20 years ago and 10 years ago and 30 years ago.
I know, as someone living in Canada, I know Brother John must be itching to get in on that conversation. But before I let him, I allow him to come in at you, I need to ask, what have you found to be the relationship between those various demographics of Black people? People, Jamaica, Grenadians, Africa, and so on. What have you found or did your survey give you any indicators in that regard?
Okay, that's a very good point. Okay, so what we know based on some of their data, I have I meet with Statistics Canada very often, because we're now trying to integrate our data set. When we code our data, in fact, Statistics Canada code their data in NAICS codes. We code our data in both NAICS and IC codes. So our data can be used from Statistics Canada can use our data, and also the UN can use our data. Okay, so we specifically code our data in two codes, because there are more Black people outside of Canada than there are Black people in Canada. So our data must be able to understand to interact with internationally. With regard to the different ethnic groups, so there are 207 different ethnic groups in Canada, Black ethnic groups. All of them want to serve themselves alone. Okay, all of them want to. So when they go to the government for funding, they all want funding for their group. So, for example, there are 527 non-profit organizations just in the province of Ontario and Quebec. The 507. So that is chaos. The government is complaining, hey, too many of you are coming to us. Each one wants something for themselves. And that's some of the challenge. Within the Native community, there are 4 major nonprofit organizations, and there's a hierarchy in terms of how funding is distributed, not in the Black community. So we build our model. Okay, how we build a model. We build our model based on as a for-profit organization. So yes, we have a nonprofit organization that is called CanCaro, but we have a business model to collect the database so that we can take that data and use that data not only for ourselves but for everyone else. And we believe that we try to keep away from the nonprofit organizations, but we find that there should be a hierarchy of leadership. In 2023, I need to know who is the leader. And there's no defined Black leader in Canada. Everybody wants to be their leader. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges we have. We need to appoint a leader.
You need to appoint a leader. At this juncture, I want to invite our our technical operator, the man who is making this thing possible for us, Brother John Caliste, to come in on the conversation. Brother John, I know that you must be itching to get in on this conversation. You must have something significant to contribute to this discourse.
Well, good evening again, Dr. Pierre. Good evening, Brother Pablo. Yes, obviously there is a lot of disparities in our communities, and like Dr. Pierre rightly said, there are a lot of NGOs, even within the church organizations, there are a lot of NGOs that are non-profit within the church organization seeking to get funding for the specific church or the specific communities. This is a problem. However, politically speaking, we don't talk about no black leaders. The last one we had was Dudley Laws, right? But yet, that still did not resonate with the total black population, because understand the system itself will have a divide and conquer kind of a mentality with a certain class of people. Again, the class structure still applies. That divides along the same lines of between race and business. Yes. So what we have happening is that you have the very few people who want to do business, yet, like I said, we bought everything together, right? Money for yourself, money for your business, everything in one. We go to the bank and even when we go to get lending, get money borrowed, we don't have a account where they could see our transactions, right? So that's another problem. So they say, look, where's the money? We're not still depositing money. We cash everything. And that's a big problem. So I think what have to be done, and I think you said the government have given out $400 million for small black businesses and stuff like that.
400 million.
400 million. How does one get qualified under that in that system to get the funding to improve the business, to employ more people, and to train the people that will be employed? Right. How do we access that funds?
So very good question. So there is an organization called FACE, which is the Federation of Black Canadian Economics, and they provide the funding for black businesses. So if you have a black business, if you want to get funding, if you have an idea, they provide that funding for you, and that has formed a buffer to help black businesses, and as a result, you find you have more black businesses. So from our data from 2018 to 2022, we have over 5,000 more businesses, black businesses. Small, but at least we are increasing. And we have, for example, there are 79,340 black business owners. So it is getting, so more and more black people are considering owning a business, because this is the only way we can make it. Because we know that if we rely on someone to employ us, it is slim and none that we will get employed. If we rely on to be on the board of directors of a big corporation, it is slim and none, because it does not represent the people. So having a black person on the board of directors of X company, it does not represent their people. If you look at April 4th, RBC had the shareholders reject this issue of climate change and diversity. It reject that. Okay, so we know that we have to paddle our own canoe. We have to get involved in business. We have to use our intellectual property, and that is why we as a firm, we try to stay clear from the non-profit and concentrate for profit, so that we can help other black people. And our goal is to go public, have an IPO. That is our goal by 2025. That's the way that we are going, and we are now trying with the help of the Business Development Bank and one of the other banks. We are trying to go on that path, because if we do not do that, who else will do it? The non-profit organization, there is too much of risk, because with the non-profit organizations, when the government changes it will affect the sustainability of your organization.
Right. Another thing I noticed in the Black community, Bob might be a very good mechanic, and he's open a mechanic shop, right? But Bob is not a good manager. Would you say that one of the downfall of Black businesses, the same owner who make a good cook want to be the manager, the accountant, at the same time? Do you see that as one of the downfall of Black business that not expanding its reach?
And yes, and so that is what, as we said, that is one of the challenges. We are a developed, we live it.
We're a developing country. A developed country.
In a developed country, and that is why we come in. So our firm, we provide that managerial consultancy to these Black businesses. Okay, so some organization we operate on a retainer, so we help the company. So any concern you have how to grow a business, so we have, for example, because we into research, we have about 500 templates of business plans. We have market research on whatever industry you are on, the 42 industries. We provide data on that. So a typical business can come to us and say, hey, don't be abandoned. I'm planning on doing A, B, C, D, E. Help us. And what we can do it for you. All of what you have to do is to just concentrate on your business. And that is what we want. And we cannot rely on the nonprofit to do it, because historically, nonprofit has never has not been successful in helping companies become successful. It must be done by for-profit organization, people who have the skills and technical competencies to do it.
Mention about a lot of Black business and little business, self-employed, but also family-oriented businesses with a father, daughter, son, whatever, right? So do not reach the criteria for typically a small business, right? How do we, in this present situation now in Canada, would facilitate the small businesses, despite what you just said? How do we get those people to really sit down and do an evaluation with if they want to expand their business to become more viable and more competitive in the so-called race business concept? Right.
Very, very good question again. So we have, for example, we have to that's where discussion, we have to start discussing, we have to have information sessions, we have to have organizations like your organization to promote it, so for example, if every month, for example, GEM-FM is doing a business classes, for example, how to get into business. So this is needed within the Black community, and it's not done. So that is one of the challenges we have, and that's how where we come in as a management consultancy firm, as a data management consultancy firm. We come in to provide that assistance. So instead of you going to do business plan, we can do the business plan for you, because we have templates, we have the mechanism. Instead of you spending time to look for research, we provide all the research for you. And one of the challenges why we as a people must get into business is because as we grow older, our society faces the highest risk of homelessness, the highest risk of the income challenges of any other race. Because just from the simple data, we found that people who are above 65 in Canada, for example, 20% of the only 20% of the average population work after the age of 65. But within the Black community, we have close to 31%. So it's very high, because only 34% of Black people have a pension. So we are conducting the Black Quebecers pension survey, and some of the data that is coming out of that, it is just in Quebec, it is so revealing that there is something, if we do not change, there is something that will come out it's something that will be very detrimental for us in Canada.
I was just trying to say that because the average Canadian, right, presently, who a household of making $10,000 a month, household income, right,
Yes.
is still living in poverty, right? Because half of that money is to your mortgage, period, right? Then another, according to Statistics Canada recently, it costs $16,000 just for food, grocery, that's grocery, a year per household of four, $16,000.
Yes.
All right. So think about that number, right? Then you have to, they say that you have to save at least $13,000 a year. You have to save about that amount of money, $13,000 a year to retire comfortably at age 65, right? Now, that, in a sense, even you go into business for yourself, right? You still have to be making enough money to maintain the business and to maintain a family. So which means you're making at least $40,000 a week, right, on average, to really literally feed your family, sustain the business, in terms of marketing the business and advertising the business and paying employees. So again, you have to make, an exceptional amount of money to survive in this economic war. I noticed that a number of businesses are just registered, but they are not, they run the risk of not being incorporated. What are some of the fundamentals differences between just registering a business and incorporating a business as a Black person in Canada?
Right, good. So well, you can register a business either provincially with the Ontario government or federally with the federal government. There are certain benefits. If you register a business, it means that that your company, you are a private company that would be able to benefit by just by being a corporation. You will also benefit. So it is better for you as an organization, as a person, to register your business with the government, so that you will take advantage. You'll have shares of all of the perks that a regular business has. So I will advise people to register a business instead of just going as a non-registered business. Before you get a bank loan, it will be easier with your registered business. You have a bank account, all the records. Remember that Black people, we mix our private and our personal business together, and that is some of their challenges. So registered corporation is the way to go.
You mentioned earlier, we noticed that Black people do not support the business, the Black business in the communities and so on, right? And then they're not expanding as much into the white community, except for buying the job chicken and the thing. You go down the street to Arbus, I go up the street to see white people lining for roti and curry chicken and stuff like that. But at the same time, we're not doing business. They're not in our mechanic shops. We're not in our construction business. They're not employing us, and we're not employed by them in construction. Even the construction companies on the street, out of 100, you might see one Black person there in the industry. So I could drive a mile from Finch to Finch West to Finch East, and I see one Black person in the whole mile construction, one or two Black persons. So how do we, I say, lack of Black leadership, how do we get in? How do we have Black leaders who we see now in our present construct? In, for example, the city of Toronto, there are hosts of the Black people running for mayor, but we don't know who these people are. We just see them showing up, but it's a sort of a class society they're in. We're not seeing them on the ground. We only see them and hearing them. How do we get our Black leaders in politics to come in the forefront in the communities and say, here, guys, I want to run for you, I want to represent you, I want to get you out of the rat race and get into the horse race? How do we do that?
Well, first of all, we need to have a Black summit. We need to have every Black person connected to 3-4 days summit, and people have a think tank. We meet together. Okay, all Black people. This has not. We have never done that. Okay, we have not, because as I said, there are too many. We compete too much, so we need a leader. There's no leader yet. We need to identify a Black leader, and that's a challenge we've had. We need to have a Black summit. We need to have a think tank, And we have to find out, we need to conduct a labor market needs assessment, because by conducting the labor market needs assessment, it will tell us where we have to focus on. So for example, 80% of Black children in universities study social science, customer service, health. However, listen, in our study, I mean, people should really read the report. In our study, if you have STEM subjects, you can get a job 150,000, 200,000. Almost the companies will pay for you, pay out all your school fees to take you. The 99% of these people, these students in engineering, and are non-Black. We need to do something, and because we focus too much on one sector, the social science, the easy sector. So we as a population, we need to focus more on the STEM subjects. Children, some of their Asian students, or they dominate that industry.
Yep.
Okay, even some of our we conduct all our IT dominate the industry. There are very few people in our industry, and we need to, and that's why we need to conduct research. We do not conduct research. We open a business based on our feelings and our belief, and maybe some prayers, or whatever.
Yes, for real. I didn't probably somewhere last week. We spend more time in prayer than principle of business. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I tell you a story. So we have there's a guy. We have an MOU with a firm, and this firm does all our AI for us. So we do quantitative, and they come in and do the quantitative. They come and do the qualitative. So they do it through AI. And I had a little discussion with the guy. The guy's like, he's a PhD student, okay, 20 years. I said, how long you started doing computer programming? You know what the guy said? He said he doesn't know. As far as he knew himself, he was into computers.
That's it.
Just imagine that. The guy's 20 years old, so he has 20 years, almost 19 years experience, 18 years experience computer programming. How could we compete with these kind of guys?
So let me ask you a question then, because given those information that you have at your disposal right now, how are you planning to dispense this information within the Black community? Right? We're asking for Black leaders. You mentioned a Black Summit, to have a Black Summit and so on. But what are the plans for your organization to meet those persons, or to invite those persons to a seminar or session where you can dispense information and have a study on it? Because I know one of the things that have been done recently, your survey that you did on the greater election and the result, there's a group that is studying it right now. How do we get persons to spend time, invest time in studying that report that we just posted on online? How do we get people to do that? How will your company?
Very, very good question. So what we want the people, we want every Black person to get a copy of the report. Who can get it? Download the copy of the report. From our data, from our analytics thus far, we found that the 90% of white people are downloading their report. Now imagine a Black report, and more white people are interested in the report than Black people. I find that, how could that be? It baffles me.
Well, there's a simple answer to that. Once they know what we are suffering from, what is holding us back, it is a weapon. They could weaponize it against us as well. You see? So there is information they will need to know to protect the industry for themselves. So, but we have to be on the offensive. The best defense is a good offense, right? So we have to be able to get out there,
right,
and educate our people.
So we are not interested in things that are important to us.
To us, yes.
Imagine that a labor markets are not, they're not cheap. It is a very detailed. So the information is there. All you have to do is go to the website and download the report. And what we found is that more white people
are using it, downloading
it than black people.
Right.
And what we're asking the audience to, just to read the report. If you read the report, you will understand. Okay, we had a discussion with Mr. Michael Couture and all the other, some of the ministers who have looked at the reports, Statistics Canada, and we have given a copy of the report. And as I said, it's a good report. So we're asking the black community, hey, to get a copy of the report, read the report, and see and understand the report, so at least you will know what is going on in your country. It's easy to read, and it's very knowledgeable, and that's what we're asking. Is our report. We believe that you ought to know more about your community than any other community.
Okay. So now that we have this report in our hands, it's in our hands. It's out there on the website right now. It's on my live, right? Is there anything that like your organization, with Gem FM, would be willing? I'm willing. I'm ready. Always ready.
Yes.
To partner with your company.
Yes.
To probably have a one-day seminar, where we could invite black business owners. Start with black business owners who probably have less than 10 persons in the organization, and invite them to a day, and we could explain to them and find how we could better plan the business and be more economically viable.
Yes. Because that is what we have to come together. We have to come together. It is something that we're open to. I mean, we have relationship with other organizations. We have a lot of relationship with universities, statistical organizations. So it is not that difficult to do, because we have a lot of data, okay, and we conduct these surveys, and the information that we get, we're now using artificial intelligence and to collect data on the population, so that we could use that for policies.
So another thing I want to ask you though, with the school population, the college graduate, the university graduate coming to college, yes, they're looking for a job. What is your advice to them now, given the information that you have? What are the most important thing you will say to a 20-year-old finishing university? Would you advise them to go into business for themselves, or would them to get work in a company for the next 5 years, learn what they're doing in your area of expertise, and then branch off in 5 years, make a 5-year plan? They could get off come to your company and say, Mr. Pierre, look, I have understudied this company for 5 years. I want to go on my own. Now I'm going to study this company. I want to go on a business for myself. What are the steps you will give that to them?
So if I had to advise a black student, if I had to advise a black student, let's say someone from, let's say, high school, I would say, hey, what you got to do, you have to concentrate on the STEM subject: science, okay, technology, engineering, math. You have to concentrate on that. It is the way of the future. It's the way of the future. Yes, maths and science is hard, but you got to know it. It's like Japan in the 40s and 50s. Conducting calculus was hard. Passing calculus was hard in Japan. People failed. But no, everybody that goes to university can do calculus. Every Japanese person must get calculus, pass calculus in order to graduate.
Right.
Okay, so you need the STEM subjects. Okay, because there's so many jobs. There are over 200,000 jobs in the STEM industry that is waiting for people. We concentrate too much on the customer service side. Okay, and in the customer service side, you get low-paying jobs. Okay, we as an organization, we as a people, we are grossly underemployed. So STEM subject is good. If someone is already past university, I will inform them to get maybe 3-4 years experience in working in a corporation before they branch off to in their business. Historically, 35% over 50% of all Black workers are under the age of 35, but also close to 60% of Black businesses, 60% of Black businesses have no corporate experience. They have never worked in a corporation before. And in order just from data, in the most successful business people are people who have had corporate experience. So corporate experience is key to the success of your business.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Pierre. I know there's a lot to be asked, a lot to be said, and here I think we almost run out of time. Raphael Paula, it should be coming back anytime soon. But I want to thank you very much for your time and dispensing of the information on here today. I really want to thank you so much for that. I know a lot of people are itching to get more of it. We'll talk later more about it and see how we could probably with Pablo put a virtual seminar for Black businesses in Toronto and get this thing going. Get back on the train. Of taking advantage of economic upheaval that is happening because the people eating our food, so to speak, in Canada, and we're not at the table. We need to get at the table. All right?
Yes. And as I said, it starts with the labor market, and labor market is, Grenada conducted the labor market. So even Grenada, for example, the first labor market in the Caribbean, the first labor market in the OACS was conducted in Grenada in 1980 during the time of the revolution. So even the revolution, they knew the importance of a labor market.
Ahead of the time.
Imagine that. The first labor market needs assessment.
The first and the last one that was done. Yeah?
Beg your pardon?
The first one and the last one that was done. One haven't been done since.
The Grenada National Training Agency, I think in 2011, conducted one.
Okay.
And we are getting there. We're getting there as a nation.
All right, Pablo, back to you.
Thank you very much, Brother John. Dr. Pierre, before you leave us for the afternoon, I came across a report on that's headed Statistics and the Labor Market, a case study of evidence-based planning towards global competitiveness in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS. And that would have been done back in 2015. And definitely it would have covered Grenada. Can you tell us anything about that? You mind sharing a bit about that?
Well, yes. As I said, what we as an organization, we collect data, labor market data. So we can have people who leave. We look at the professions, people who leave the Caribbean, what professions they have, where to identify them. And with the use of AI, we want to know what education they have, what skill they have, where they travel. So we look at the whole issue of the labor market. So we're very interested in the labor market. We are very interested in who is leaving, what skills they have, and how could they contribute to our society. And in that report, we conducted the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean State that's the OAS, the based in St. Lucia, had our firm to do an assessment of the labor force survey in the 10 OECS countries. So what we did is that we went into these countries and look at how they conducted their study, what challenges they had, what are some of the gaps, and we were able to write a report to the OECS to tell them how to report to the OECS what challenges they had, and in that case we found that St. Lucia was way ahead of the rest of the OECS countries in terms of its ability to conduct the study. And as a result, St. Lucia has always been a major a leader. It was under the direction of Mr. Edwin St. Catherine, who's in my opinion one of the best statisticians in the OECS, or I would say in the Caribbean region.
So that being the case, can you give us, in a nutshell, what was some of the major findings from that study? And if anything, something particular or specific to our Grenada situation?
Okay, yes. What we found was that we found that, I mean, what are the challenges in some of these countries were having challenges conducting the labor force surveys, and one of the main challenges we found out is just that the technical aspect of it. It was very technical, so they had challenges doing it. We also found out that a lot of the directors of statistics were not statisticians, so they could not understand the technical aspect of conducting these surveys. And as a result, now it's much better, and most of these countries are conducting their studies and stuff. So we have kind of passed that hurdle, because the OECS and the EU had provided the necessary technical support for these countries to conduct their labor force surveys. And as of 2021, most of these countries have conducted their labor force surveys.
So you are saying, excuse me. So you are saying that Grenada has conducted a labor market needs assessment in recent times?
Yes, and they also conducted labor force surveys. I think that the statistician, Mr. Timon and Timon Charles, and the team, they're doing a good job. They produce very good reports. If someone will go on the Grenadian the statistical agency's website, they'll see updated information. I think that Grenada, we have it going. But the only challenge I see with Grenada is that the statistics department should be a statutory body, as what is in St. Lucia and most other countries, because it should not be under the Ministry of Finance, because the statistics is the true representative of the people. So therefore, it should not be under the Ministry of Finance, because it represents the people. Or not the politician. Is the statistics, is the data that represent the people. So a politician can say anything he wants, or somebody can say anything they want, but the data, the data from the statistics office is the true representative. So my goal, I believe that just like St. Lucia, take the statistics office under the Ministry of Finance, so that the director can now report freely about the situation.
They would have a certain level of autonomy.
And as we have now, we do not have that in Grenada. And if we reach out to the government, as do the Ministry of Finance, they should implement this as soon as possible.
Okay. Before we close, any specific advice that you would want to leave with us in terms of apart from what you've just said, with specific regards to the statistics department? Any further advice that you would want to leave with us that we can find useful in our Grenada situation going forward?
Well, yeah. I mean, is listen. I'm not.
Well, and that question, I'm just diverting a little bit because I know that you were instrumental in the recent past, in doing a particular survey in this country, and you would have come up with particular findings, and that would have been in relation to our elections. And while the other pollster was using trends, you were using data and artificial intelligence, and your findings or your projections turned out to be on the money, as the people say. So in that regard, is there anything specific that you think we need to take into consideration in this arena going forward?
Oh, okay. Well, as I said, I just want to, because I want to kind of clear the air. Okay. I'm not a paid consultant to the NDC. Okay. I just want to get that clear. I'm not a paid consultant. And in fact, sometimes I try to talk to them and nobody calls me back. Okay. So I'm not a paid consultant. I'm not a paid consultant to the NDC, to the NDC or the NNP. So I'm not a paid consultant. I'm a patriot. I believe that I am more patriotic than any politician or any Grenadian. I'm very, very concerned with our country because our country has certain attributes that no other country has. Okay, I always tell people that we are the bravest country in maybe in the world or in the region. We're the only country that can pick up arms and overthrow a government. No other country can really do that apart from Cuba. So we have certain skills. Okay. What I believe, so I see that because of our small population, there are so much of opportunities that we have. We need to know that, so data should be priority in our system. Okay. There were some challenges. Persons that had called me and said that what I did was wrong. What I did was I took information that was supposed to be for public use and I weaponized it. They felt that the voters registration, for example. So what we had so when we did the analysis in Grenada, we took the white pages, the telephone white pages, we took the telephone yellow pages, and we cross tabulate with the voters registration. So the 2,499 pages on the Grenada the parliamentary election office. So we took that data down, and and that data had everyone information on it, name, address, and obviously we got information on almost everybody. And people felt that we should not have done that, because what we have done is that we interviewed people and got people to become election conscious or civic and which made them start thinking about politics. And the people felt that we should not do that, or we shouldn't have done that. Why should we agitate the population? But I say that the people are smarter than we think. We believe that the general masses are more educated and smarter than the politicians. So we have to know. So what we have been done is that we have been working on Grenada since 2006. So we have almost like, for example, all the districts all the telephone poles, all the cell towers, all of that is in our database. So we have a very good analysis, a very good understanding of how politics work and how people, how social media work. And we use the information, and we use artificial intelligence to guide and to see what is taking place, how the people think. We're not influencing people. We're not telling people to vote NDC or to vote over the NNP. And so we're not doing that, and we have never done that in our election analysis. We conduct surveys. That's all that we have done. So I want to put it out there to say that, hey, we do not influence people or encourage people to vote NDC over NNP, because, as I said, I have no dog in the game. I'm not a consultant to the NDC, okay? Nor am I a consultant to the NNP. I am patriotic as anyone else. And what we have been able to do is that to collect data, so a lot of social media data on the trends. So with regard to the prediction, or we were able to predict the NNP would have who the NDC would be successful, is that we conducted surveys. But not only surveys we conducted, we also had access to the social media, and we interviewed people. We went down on the ground. We interviewed. We had 17 focus groups, so we got a good idea. And that's how we were able to make the prediction that the NDC would have been victorious in the elections. And even though everyone had laughed at us, if everyone said that they were so sure, it not in 100 years, not that NNDC would have won this election, we said, hey, based on our data, we believe that the NDC would win. We looked at lastly, we look at the amount of time in persons spent on an NNP social media activity, a total of 119 hours compared with 256 hours on the NDC. And that is phenomenal. And we said that, and that's why we made that prediction among all other things. But I didn't make the prediction. I did not, just for the records, that I did not influence or anyone to vote NDC over the NNP. And I just want to make that clear, that I didn't do it. And people believe that we encourage people to vote for the NDC over the NNP because we influence them. We send secret codes and things like that to them. All of that is hogwash. We have never done that. All we ask is persons' opinion on leadership. We ask persons' opinion on what are the main concerns with the elections. And from our opinion, we said that the main concern of everyone was the pension. And it's still a main concern. And based on the data we are receiving, it seems as though the people who are benefiting from the pension are mainly more NNP supporters than NDC supporters. So whatever the government is doing, I commend the government. I commend the new government. I think that they're doing a good job. Okay, and as a patriot, we will try to do anything in my powers to help them do a better job. If anyone from the NDC calls me, I'll help. If anyone from the NNP calls me, I'll help, because my job, more than anything else, is I'm patriotic, and I believe I'm patriotic more than anyone else in Grenada. And I'll stop from there.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Pay. It's always a pleasure having you on the GMFM platform and being able to share with us. I know that one of our colleagues who's usually on the GMFM platform, a member of the GMFM family, I should say, he does hold you in very high esteem when it was announced that you are going to be here. You know, he was saying, Pablo, you know, you scored a big one. And I was saying to him, well, it's Comrade Kalis that has made that possible. You know, so I see in the chat room in the comment section on Facebook, you know, some people believe that this is quite a very edifying conversation we have had, and I hope that we can continue, you know, bringing that kind of information to people and engaging in that kind of conversation, because as is the motto and the mantra of this GEM FM entity. Education is liberation.
Yes.
So it's about liberating the minds. It's about edifying people and getting people to think, right? Because it says that these days we don't think. We have been so conditioned and so programmed by our partisan political positions that we don't spend time to think and to rationalize things. We just go with the flow of whatever our the political party that we support. We just go with the flow of whatever narrative that they put out there. But we want people to be able to think and to rationalize things for themselves. And we are going to encourage these kinds of conversations right here on GEM-FM. So at this point in time, I say thank you to you, brother, Dr. Pei, to Brother John Kalis, to those who would have joined us and those who would have made comments in the comments section online. And so I see some names there that I know to be very consistent in, you know, being here with us, being guests when we have the MTTG show. And I am happy that people continue to make their presence felt and to follow the conversation that is taking place out here. So thank you very much once again. And it's a long weekend. We have we go into Easter Monday is also a holiday out here, which I think is the same in Canada, Dr. Pierre?
Yes. And we also have to just to give our prayers to the people in Quebec. They're having experiencing a terrible ice storm.
Okay.
And, we want to give thanks. I know we have a comrade, Val. So Val, if you're listening, Val, we hope that you're safe. We hope that you are warm. All everybody in Quebec, Bissou, and from StatScan, and all the other colleagues who listen to us, Arlene, and all the persons we and my French tutor, okay, all you all who are in Quebec. Listen, guys, you know, be careful, and everyone who knows who is affected. I heard that some persons could not get ATM, they could not get money from the bank. Every place was just shut down. So I just want God's blessings.
Yeah. At this time of the year, you're supposed to be into springtime now, Dr. Pierre.
Yes. Wednesday,
you're supposed to be into springtime now.
Yes, man. Wednesday, everything's just shut down. And I know that I have a friend in Quebec who I think is a Grenadian friend. I can't let me see. I have so her name, I think I can't remember her name now, but she know who I'm talking about. Once I met her in the airport, and she was very kind to me. So also so Quebec, you know, so Josephine, her name is right. The Josephine. So that's her name, Josephine. Hi to you and your family, your daughter, everyone. All the best. And you know, we ask persons to get a copy of the report. We would like people to at least, not only if you're not only living in Ontario, but Quebec and anywhere else, just get a copy of the report, and the report will give you let you see some of the challenges we have, and it will help you in your country also. And
Well,
Grenada, I love
once
Grenada.
again, yeah, once again, thank you very much, Dr. Pierre, and all the best to all those who would have joined us. Enjoy the rest of the day. All over the place, people gathering in Pathway and in Davy Beach and so on and so forth. Brother John.
Yes. Well, today I went downtown and we went down to FM and others. We went to feed the homeless today. It was a very fine day. You know, we didn't do our show this morning. We went downtown with Stand Up in Christ and New Millennium Church on Jim FM. We went downtown to feed the people, you know, and really a good thing, you know. People enjoy the meal and tell us to come again. You know, we had some relationship I had from Christmas with some of the people. I was glad to see us back again. So I think that was a good thing, you know, feeding people is good. Because the truth about it is, you know, it's everywhere. People are hurting, right? Everywhere. And people, if you listen to some of people's stories, you will recognize that it was right up there at one point, and something happened, something shift under them, and it just economic shift, and they get part of the grind, you know, and up on the street. You happen to anybody anytime. Exactly. It's a serious, a vicious cycle.
and that's the challenge. That's the challenge, man. It's tough.
It's tough, yes. Yeah.
And if we don't do the research, we just know about it, and you know, we are conscious of it. And you have to do the research. And we as Black people, imagine when a person is over the age of 65, okay, 33% of Black people still have to end up continue working, whereas only 20% of the general population. Okay, I mean, just look at the statistics. It's glaring in our face, and we're doing nothing about it. Because in the government pension, the old age pension, what could we do with that?
Nothing. You know, something interesting you said that, right? I was doing a research on my own, right?
Yes.
And
Lord Molly starting another program.
No. That's incredible because it touched something that I watched it for about a year. I'm still watching it happening, right? And people, the ordinary Canadian, minorities in particular, I see them all the time. They go to the coffee shop and they spend $20 every day in the coffee shop. That coffee shop for one person alone, those are the 20 people that are going to the coffee shop. It makes $6,000 on one person.
Good.
Yes, $20 a day, 5 days a week is $100, $500 a month, 5 12 is 60. $6,000 a year for one person, so 20 times 6 in one workplace. I see it happen, right? So they spend money and they reach out and they think, but they realize how rich they are. They spend money that they should be used otherwise, right? Invest it instead of doing what they're doing. And that's a very big problem until somebody awaken them to it and say, like, I actually had a conversation with a brother one time. I said, look, he wants to buy a car. And I said, look, you know, this car will cost you $1,000 in 5 years. They give you 5 years to pay off a car for $550, right? It's $16,000 for the car. Then they put all this stuff onto the car. In 5 years' time, you're paying $31,000+ for the same car that depreciates in value over a 5-year period.
Yes. And that's the challenge, you see.
And the education is not, most people, the country wouldn't educate you on that. So we have to do this education. And to get all people start thinking, why can I save that in 10 months, $1,500? Because it costs you $1,500 to keep a vehicle on the road in Canada right now. $1,500. The average person that will pay $1,500 to keep the car. About $500 for gas, $300 to $400 for gas. Insurance average about $300 to $500 a month for insurance, and the car paying another $550, $525 a month. That's $1,500. If you save that money for yourself for 10 months, you could save $15,000 in 10 months.
I give you a simple story, okay? So our culture you know, because we remember that we were, because of slavery, we have taken up the foreign culture. So when we come to this country as a young man, the first thing we look at or concentrate on is getting a vehicle. Okay, vehicle. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But when an Asian or Indian, we say, come to this country, the first thing they think about is getting a house. 7 of them will stay in one house. 10 of them, okay, they will have shift. They will buy a house and they will have that equity. And this is something that in conducting the labor market needs assessment, we interviewed some of the persons who work in the social, in the Ontario housing. Said 90% of these people are Black people. And it's generation, mother, children, grandchildren, everybody in social housing. And it's something that we have to get at how. If you save $200 or $200 a month from 18 years to 45 in the stock market, you will definitely have $1 million by age 65. Because for the last 100 years, 150 years, the stock market has given an average between 18 and 15% annually. And we all know about the law of 772.
Okay.
This kind of teaching have to be out there.
Okay, so that's matters for another conversation. And
yes.
We will be okay back because we need to continue having these kind of exchanges, as I say. So let me say good afternoon to everybody, and once again enjoy the rest of the weekend. Hope to see you back with us on the MTTG show right here on Gem FM next week, Saturday. Enjoy the rest of the week. Everybody.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Blessings. All right. Okay. Yes, man. So again, thank you guys. Thank you, Dr. Pierre. Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, all of our viewers around the world. This is Gem FM. I'm your host, Sheriff, yours today, and technical operator today, alongside Pablo, Sunset City. Oh, Pablo, before you go, could you just tell me what the St. Mark's event coming up? The St. Mark's Day event.
Oh,
can you just plug this in, brother?
We do have the St. Mark Festival coming up.
Yeah, man.
Later this month, we do have St. Mark Festival coming up at the end of this month, actually. And oh boy, I wonder if I can lay my hands here on the.
You have the hike to Mountain Catherine going on. Then you have the beach volleyball, beach soccer competition going on the beach.
Yes.
You have
basketball competition,
yes.
And we usually have that night of culture, and so where we have the bonfire, you know. So it's going to be a packed week. A packed week of events that culminates with the Reservoir Jam on the Sunday morning. So I'll ensure that next week I give you the full details.
All right.
Of that.
Yeah, man. I can send you during the week, so I could still talk about it during the week, promote it as well. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And folks, those of you, there is just Dr. Justin Pierre report is on the DBP Global E-commerce portal. You can also download the study there, so you can use it in your interest group, the social group in Canada. And those of you who anywhere in the world want to use it on here. So visit us on YouTube, John Kelly's YouTube page, or GemFM.ca Facebook page. You'll find it there, and all our other platforms that we have. All right, folks. So have a blessed evening. God bless. One love, one heart, one destiny.
All right.
Yes.
Bye.
Dr. Pierre, thank you again, and looking forward to have you some other time. All right.
All right. Man. Okay, Brother John.
Yes. Good evening, Hudson George, Lincoln Deputy, Cassandra Mitchell, Sonia Martin Scott, and all of the folks listening on Gem FM. Pleasant good evening. Louis Noel Ambrose of Evening to me. And to those of you in Trinidad and Tobago on the YouTube page, a pleasant good evening as well. Lincoln, Deputy, Julian Alexander, Alison Macklin, David Fox. I've come pleasant pleasure as well as a privilege being here with you. Dennis Charles. Good evening, my brother. Join Pablo next week, Saturday, 3 p.m. Don't be late for class. Because I'm just show up early next week, Saturday, okay? Always. 3 p.m. on Gem FM. Hudson George. Again, before this show is brought to you by Ola's Kitchen, 477 Oakwood Avenue. If you haven't been there yet, get there today. Next week, Saturday, breakfast and all done. Check out Ola's Kitchen, 477 Oakwood Avenue in Toronto. And Aunt Jim's Ice Cream in Hamilton. Cookies Pastry Delights and Benjamin Street in Grenville. Frontline Barbers at 530 Oakwood Avenue, Clifford, the barber. A different book list in downtown Toronto, Billy, Marcus, and Blow. I just said, 779 Martin Street. And don't forget to support our sister Tracy Grant Lewis for Miss Elegant Mothers Pageant happening on the 12th of May. Love, like, and share her page. Leave a comment. Let her know that you support her on our way to bring back the crown to Grenada. Rapping Grenada 473. Miss Tracy Grant Lewis. We gotta be careful what we're speaking to our lives. If we speak it when we believe it, we're gonna live it. Let's think positive as one people, one destiny. When we believe what people say about us and make that our reality, when we live in their reality for us. Let us not believe or dwell on their belief of us. Change the narrative. Let's speak a different language. Let's believe that we can be and live the life we want to live. Not the one that tells we are. One of the most destructive things about life is to believe somebody negative report about you and then go and live it. Let's live on our reality of ourselves. Not what they tell us we are, not what they tell us we could be, but what do we think we could be? And how do we know? And do we know who we are? Let us not fall into the trap again in this dispensation. We have enough of their thoughts about us. Yes, you listen to Gem FM. I'm the technical operator for this show, the grassroots. Message to the grassroots. The Reverend Paul Pablo from Sunset City St. Marks. is Gem FM. People like you, there's a place up there for you. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you give a little more than you take, and if you try to fix more than you break, if you're the kind who takes the time to help a stranger in the rain, there's a place for people like you. If you yes, folks, I want to hear. Have a blessed evening. One love, one heart, one destiny. Bye. One love. Just the next Saturday with Leon Bogo Cornwall will be here the next Saturday morning from 10 o'clock, having a conversation / interview with Comrade Pastor Leon Bogo Cornwall. Just next Saturday morning, right here on Gem FM. There's a place for people like you.